PPI actually is. So yeah, what is PPI? So if you had any kind of, let's say, credit card product or a credit product such as consumer loan, store cards, credit card, mortgage up until 2006, when the regulator began imposing fines for PPI mis-selling, you may have been mis-sold PPI. And PPI stand for Payment Protection Insurance. So let me repeat. It stands for Payment Protection Insurance. Some mis-selling may even have taken place after this date. So in other words, after 2006. And of course, if you want to find out how to seek free help, you can go online and type make your free claim by which is a magazine that provides advice and guidance to those who are seeking PPI claim. And by the way, you can actually go online and do it for free. So type make your free PPI claim with which, and it is free. And of course, when you make a claim, keep all of your compensation and send all your PPI claim direct to your provider. In other words, you don't have to bring a claim via an agent. Via an agent in this case means you don't have to use a company. So the only thing you have to do, go online, type make your free PPI claim, and then you make a claim, choose the company that you want to make a claim against, and from then on, you can start up for free. There's no need to hand over a huge chunk of money either. So in other words, the companies that you may instruct, or you may have done so, when you do it like this way, you don't have to worry about giving away your compensation money. If you can't remember though, your lender, check your credit file. So your credit file will have a record of all your creditors in the UK. So usually any credit you borrow, any loan that you owe, any credit card companies you have been using, or any financial institutions like T-Mobile and others, all those things get recorded on your credit file. So if you're not sure, go and check your credit file for free to find out whether you have companies that you owe money to, or you may have money owed to, and you think you may be owed your PPI. So yeah, so that's that. And of course, if you're not quite even sure, you can always go on Financial Conduct Authority. Financial Conduct Authority is the regulator in the context of the financial industry. Anyone lending money or giving you consumer credit, you can check their website to find out if the company that you're not sure whether you owe, whether they had sold you PPI as well. So that's one way. So the question then is basically how do you think you may have been mis-sold? Obviously, it's all fine. You think, oh yes, I think that company sold me payment protection insurance, and I think I have a claim. But the question is, how do you go about and how do you find out? Payment protection insurance is ultimately, to be honest, is an insurance product. I.e., if you don't pay your cards, insurance will protect you. Same thing with loan. If you don't pay your loan on time, insurance meant to help you. And also you may have it in another way, i.e. mortgage insurance as well. It's meant to ensure that people would continue to be made for a time, even if the borrower is unable to make them due to sickness or unemployment. So basically, you take the cover in order to pay when you can't afford to pay, and that's the insurance that's meant to be protecting you. But of course, a number of policies were mis-sold, and most people don't know if they were mis-sold or not. So in other words, it could be you. So the question is, how do you find out? If you're unsure whether you want to make a claim though, you can check the mis-selling checklist. But any people who took out the product so long ago, it's difficult to remember exactly what happened. In this case, you shouldn't be afraid to put in a claim. Do it, but obviously don't use a company, do it by yourself. If in this case you shouldn't be afraid, yeah, fine. If your answer is no to one or, which I'll go into by the way, on the following options, then of course you need to think twice about it. So here's first. If the insurer was optional, was that made clear to you? So in other words, if the insurance was sold whereby you have options to decide and it wasn't made clear to you, then of course you have a mis-selling PPI. And also the person who sold it to you, did the person tell you about any significant exclusion under the policy? I.e., when it was sold, did the person tell you, oh, that certain things are not part of the policy? Let me just give an example. An exclusion that they say you won't be covered for any pre-existing medical condition. In this case means, let's say your health ground, you have suffer from Alzheimer's, i.e. you can't think properly because your brain cell isn't functioning well, and your memory is giving up due to dysfunction of your mental status, but they did not even tell you that part is excluded and you are impacted by Alzheimer's, then obviously that automatically means that you have been missold. If you took out a loan or a finance agreement, did the advisor make it clear that you would have to pay for the insurance upfront in one single payment? Again, it goes to clarity. Did the provider tell you that you have to make the payment up front? So that's an issue. Here's another one. If you had to pay for the PPI as a single payment, did the advisor make clear that the insurance cost would be added to the loan and that you would be paying interest on it? So in other words, for interest we are talking about, you also pay more. So did the advisor who sold you tell you about this? Now also, single premium payment protection insurance normally only lasts for 5 years. So in other words, it only lasts 5 years. However, if your loan or finance agreement was for longer than this, did the advisor make it clear that the insurance would run out before you had finished paying for your loan or finance agreement? Again, the advisor should have also told you about that. So, and there are others. If you bought PPI after 14th of January 2005, did the advisor try to persuade you to make it out by saying something like, we strongly recommend that you consider taking out PPI? If so, the sale accounts as an advised sale and they should have issued a demands and needs statement to show why a particular policy has been recommended and why it's suitable for you. You can complain if you think your provider earned a higher level of commission from your PPI and this was not made clear to you when you bought. Again, if the advisor made too much money out of you, here is a reason for you to make a complaint. Now, can you make a PPI claim on behalf of someone who died? Now, generally speaking, if there is a will, so if there is a will and a grant of probate has been obtained, then all the executors in the will named as the personal representative of the estate on the face of the grant are authorized by law to bring a PPI claim. Another word, those individuals who are responsible in executing the will are entitled to bring a PPI claim on behalf of the person who died under the will for PPI claim. Now, if your complaint is upheld, then the company that sold you the policy should do it best to put you back in the position you would have been in if you had never taken PPI out in the first place. So in other words, let's say you knew that they were making money from day one in 2005 and obviously they've been taking money up until, let's say, 2016. Every single pound they've taken from that day up until they stop, they have to reimburse every single penny under PPI claim. And if they don't, then obviously you need to start thinking of complaint, and we'll go and talk a bit about the complaint later. In addition to your PPI repayment, you may also be entitled to statutory compensation, which is usually set at an interest rate of 8% of the money refunded. Another word, let's say if they have taken in total £10,000, because they've taken £10,000 legally, you are also entitled to add 8% because by law allows you to do that. If you contemplate in bringing a claim in court, they have to pay 8%. This is to make up for the fact that you haven't been able to use the money during the time you held the PPI. After all, you have been saved or spent it elsewhere. So let me just break in to how long does it take to get a PPI refund. Obviously, we know the problems, we know what it is, but the question is, how long does it take? So the question is, how long is a piece of string? So your PPI provider has up to 8 weeks to resolve your claim from the date you made it. So let's say, for example, if you make your complaint to the company, they have 8 weeks to respond, but you could get a refund as early as the week after your initial claim. So in other words, you may not have to wait that long, but the maximum amount of time they ought to take is 8 weeks. And if your provider takes longer than 8 weeks or reject your claim, then of course you have to think about next step. So the question is, what is your next step? Your next step is to bring a complaint to an independent financial services ombudsman. Now, independent financial service ombudsman, by the way, it doesn't cost a penny. It is free for you. So yes, so independent financial services ombudsman. This is when, if your claim is rejected or if you're not sure whether the amount you have been compensated is correct or all is not lost. If your complaint is rejected and you're told the bank needs more information, you can either take your complaint straight to the ombudsman, or you could use the provider's subject access request form, which may cost up to £10. So of course you can go straight to the Financial Service Ombudsman, but if you contact the company and say, under data protection legislation, which allows you to gain subject access request, i.e. information about yourself, then you can find out exactly how much being paid to them from you. But of course, it may cost a bit of money. So in your case, it may cost £10. This form, though, should give you all the information the provider has about you and the products you've had with them for at least 6 years. And usually, they keep it up to 6 years. The data protection legislation only entitles them to keep thus far, which is 6 years. And of course, you should receive a response within 14 days. And by the way, this subject access request is different in terms of Financial Service Ombudsman, because obviously the Financial Service Ombudsman, it's a body that will listen to your story and listen to your complaint against the bank. But of course, subject access request is basically you approach the bank and say, can I see all the information you have on you about your bank account, about the money that you paid in, about your agreements that you had, and they have to provide you by law. And if they don't, you can still bring a complaint against the bank to the Information Commissioner for breaching data protection legislation. That's a different ball of fish. But going back to money, since that's what you are interested in, is money. If you think the amount of compensation is unfair, you should check the following. For example, on your policy, what does it say? Or do you owe the bank any money? And of course, sometimes you might realize that banks themselves say, you owe us money, and payment protection insurance covers that money, so therefore we won't give you any money. So again, that's something you need to think about. However, if your claim was rejected before late 2015, you might be able to resubmit your claim following the Plevenin rule. It's basically a court that went to court and it went to Court of Appeal, and Court of Appeal said that if you have missed out on some things, you are entitled to bring a claim again. In most cases, though, you may think anything is incorrect or that you have been unfairly treated, your first port of call should be your bank. Now, if you still don't think the bank's final solution is fair, you can, of course, go back to the Financial Service Ombudsman and bring a claim there, and they meant to check your case independently. There is no cost involved. It's free. It's completely free. So you pay nothing. Financial Service Ombudsman, it's a free, where they will check your facts against the facts of the bank and what the bank says, and from then on you will decide, an independent caseworker will decide, and based on that will make a decision, basically. So yeah. So now, obviously, we talked about, in a sense, of Financial Services Ombudsman, but where does companies fit in? The claims companies, let's be frank about it, there's thousands and thousands of PPI claims companies. You probably heard thousands on TV calling you saying, have you ever had a PPI claim? If you had, you need to listen to this. Anyone can and should make an initial PPI claim for free. So everyone can do that. You don't have to. If your claim is rejected and you don't have the time or energy to pursue your provider any further, it might be worth going to a claims management company. So in other words, if you just don't have the time, they might do it for you. But of course, here's a catch. As much as 40% of your compensation may go to the company. So you really need to think whether if you want to do that. 40%, yes, 40% would be taken away from you if you don't do it by yourself and use a claims management company. However, the average successful payout for your free PPI is 2,600. So there we are. So 2,600 basically. And if you have older cases of mis-selling that isn't from the bank, it can be worth using a claims management. So in other words, older the claim, you may want to think about bringing using a company. If it's new, then you might be able to claim it yourself. But don't forget, you are entitled to claim your interest. So all the money you lost in terms of the money you've given, as well as 8% on top. So let's say 2,600. 8% on top, you think how much is that may be worth. But of course, claims company is only if you have to, not necessarily you want to. So okay, so this is what it is basically in terms of how you deal with PPIs and how you deal with data protection in the context of PPI. If you're not happy, you can also think about Financial Services Ombudsman. If you are thinking of bringing a claim, you don't have to go to PPI. There are ways you can get it for free. And as I'll explain, in order for you to get free help in terms of financial, just Google PPI, Google make a PPI claim for free. And then you choose and follow the path to get a free PPI claim. Of course, here we are in terms of mis-selling and PPI, but let's listen to what members of the public think in terms of mis-selling. There we are. It's either you take out money or someone owes you money. That's why PPI means. But of course, we've talked about briefly what PPI is. It's basically money that has been taken from you without you consenting to it, and you shouldn't have been taken. They shouldn't have taken the money. So what you want is basically all the money they've taken from you to return back to you, and that's what PPI actually means. But of course, we're not finished yet until we hear what the Twitter has to say in terms of PPI. I've got Alan Sugar from Tottenham, who's 50-year-old. He says, the banking industry is a rip-off. They sold us things we don't want nor need. We are being messed up in every direction as possible. PPI is just another tool. Okay, oh thank you Alan Sugar, that's a big thing to say, but yeah, your point is valuable to us. We have Regina Bacon. She goes, I bet there are so many customers who do not know that they have been missold. Do you know what? Because you don't know it, here it is. We are spreading the message. If you owe PPI, you know what to do. So now I've got Ian Smith, who's 60, from Chingford. He's saying, if we had been extra careful with all the dotted lines, we would not have found ourselves in this situation. We have to blame ourselves. Okay, so let's go back to members of the public in a sense of what they think. And of course, then we are pretty much going to introduce what we're going to do in the future. There we are. We heard again what members of the public think in terms of PPI. So basically, if you have a problem, go online, Google free PPI claim, by which WHICH with a question mark, and then they will instruct you as to how you bring a free PPI claim. They will have letters, they will have emails to show how you ought to be writing your letters. They'll also give you instruction as to who you approach. If you have a bank account with X, Y, and Z, they will tell you the address, the email, and contact details. And once you've submitted your form, you are pretty much actually done. And of course, if the institution itself says that you're not entitled to it, you can always bring a claim to the Financial Services Ombudsman. So ladies and gentlemen, this is pretty much what has happened so far in a sense of the show. But of course, show does have to come to an end, and I also have to say my farewell to you. So if you find you don't find me, let's say next week or the week after, it's partly because I'm on leave. So the next time you'll be seeing me is going to be on the 21st of September. As you know, all of us need a break, and for me in August it's exactly going to be the same. Is that in August I also need a break, so on this occasion you'll be seeing me for 2 weeks until 11th of September. On 11th of September, however, what you'll be getting is how to get a mortgage. I'll have a financial advisor advising on mortgage, who'll also be talking about mortgage arrears. I'll also be talking about ways to open a bank account with financial institutions like RBS and Barclays. And of course, if you have any question, feel free to also call in on 0207 791 5170. Welcome, and of course, it's time also to say goodbye. This is your Money Matters show with Ripon Ray.